This is it, y'all, the last few days before 503 Day. And here's the deal. We somehow got our bosses and local businesses to go all in on a free block party for all of us. That's insane. Plus, the city is making it all official with a proclamation and elevating our shared silly idea into a real Portland holiday. So if you've been along for the ride, we hope you make it to Ankeny Alley on Saturday, May 3rd from 1 to 6:03 p.m. You can RSVP and sign up for the costume contest at portland.citycast.fm. And we just can't wait to meet you all.
Portland's most famous mural is probably a giant banana. The so-called Art Fills the Void mural. It was painted without any approval on a public wall back in 1982. Since then, it's become a beloved icon in the Hosford-Abernathy neighborhood. But after 40 years, the banana is now under threat. Today on CityCast Portland, we're talking with Willamette Week arts and culture reporter Rachel Saslow about that giant banana, Portland's long history of street art, and where to see some of the city's best murals right now. It's Monday, April 28th. I'm executive producer John Notarianni in for Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Rachel, we invited you on to talk about Portland's most famous banana. Why should we care about this giant banana mural?
Okay, there's a giant banana mural at Southeast 12th and Division.
Yeah.
And I think you should care because it is the oldest surviving street mural in Portland. And I think that is really cool. It's actually not that old. It's all relative. It's from July of 1982. I am also from July of 1982 in Portland.
Aww.
So perhaps that's why I have like a little bit of an affinity for it. And also just the thing with street art is as you live in a city, you sort of develop relationships with it as you drive around. And it's sort of a cool kind of landmark and you kind of can check on it. And it kind of puts you in a time and place. And so I think this is a very special Portland mural. It's about 25 feet long. It's on a eye level, sidewalk level side of a building. And above it, it says, "Art fills the void."
I think a lot of people have seen that.
Yeah.
So July of 1982, who painted it? Where did it come from?
Oh, the backstory is so good.
Yeah.
So it was a group of about 4 Portland artists who were young and just doing something crazy. They formed an anonymous art crew called Guerrilla Wall Flare, and they painted it in broad daylight, wearing caution vests. And then they sent typewritten notes to the Oregonian claiming the art attack and saying that they have reclaimed this wall in the name of art and against boring blank walls. And then they said, stay tuned for our next art attack. And then they went on and did 2 more art attacks. They did a thumbprint one and they did a cartoon explosion style one that said, "Oh no," in the middle.
Oh my God.
And that was off to the side of the Hawthorne Bridge. Those 2 murals are both gone, but the banana survives.
Okay, so these guerrilla art terrorists put up this mural, wrote a letter to the newspaper. Did they publish it? Like, how was this piece of art received by the public?
Yeah, so the Oregonian, I'm not sure if they published the letter in full, but they did write an article about it, and it did get like a decent amount of publicity. And I'm not sure exactly how the public responded to it in 1982. All I've really seen is the original letter, but I do know that the mural was then community maintained from 1982 to 2015. So that in itself speaks to a level of embrace that people were touching up the banana with yellow paint as necessary. And then as time went by, because it is a sidewalk level mural that's very easy to walk up to and touch, it has been tagged so many times.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of grew sadder and sadder as the years went by until the banana was actually about half the size it used to be.
Oh, the banana like shrunk because
It literally shrunk by half because it had been tagged so many times and then like repainted in haphazard ways for 30 years. So then a group called the Portland Street Art Alliance stepped in and started taking care of it. And they restored the banana to its original glory.
Mm-hmm.
They have a fund to take care of the banana. And it's actually the only mural in their whole portfolio that they take care of in this way. And I think it's because of its special place in Portland history.
I think it's interesting, thinking about 1982 and like where the public was. I don't think that there really was a distinction between street art and graffiti back then, and that's obviously changed a ton in the past several decades, like where these projects have gone from being seen as a nuisance or a sort of like guerrilla renegade action to something that's being celebrated today. And you mentioned the Portland Street Art Alliance. I feel like they've had a big hand in that transition, but like, what do you know about how Portland got to a place of embracing this sort of stuff as like things that we really love?
Yeah. So I'll say, first off, in the case of Art Fills the Void, there actually is no difference. That was straight up graffiti. That was not commissioned. It was not allowed. It is a very interesting mural because it did sort of transition to being a sanctioned mural in town.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very unusual. But there is a difference between graffiti and street art, though it does get a little bit blurry and confusing. But in general, murals are typically legal and graffiti is not. Murals are often commissioned by the city or the property owner, or Portland Street Art Alliance helps it come to life. And it's usually done during the day.
Yeah.
And it's usually designed with like a central image. It's done by professional painters. But there is this sort of like squishy distinction between the two, which I think you are kind of getting at. And I think that that's really interesting because there's a lot of interesting dynamics of like, what does our society value?
Yeah.
What is beautiful? Who gets to paint where and when and why? But Portland's landscape, I think, particularly in the central east side, has a very vibrant mural scene.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually taken a Portland Street Art Alliance walking tour of the murals there in that neighborhood, and it was so fun. It's very cool to see, themes. Then once you have the eye for it, you can sort of start recognizing an artist and their style and all of those things. You can also do the same thing with graffiti, right?
I was going to say, a lot of what you're talking about comes from graffiti, comes from the sort of, unsanctioned graffiti culture, though.
Totally. Also, because Art Fills the Void comes from the graffiti world, I have heard that among taggers in town, there is a certain level of respect for it as the banana being part of their history because it was done as graffiti. And so I think people typically stay away from it.
Yeah, that there is sort of a code where it's like, no, don't tag the banana.
But the banana does get tagged.
But the banana does. But those people aren't following the rules. Those people aren't following the code of.
Yeah, or they might have come in from another town and they don't know the history. There's a million things that could have happened. But
yeah, well, I want to talk more about the banana. But first, let's take a quick break.
The Pacific Northwest's favorite garden event is almost here. For 41 years, the Clackamas County Masters Gardeners Association has been bringing us the Spring Garden Fair. We're talking over 100 vendors selling locally grown annuals, perennials, specialty plants, and vegetable starts. Pretty much anything you need for your garden, which also includes hand-forged tools and garden art from local artisans. Plus, Clackamas County Master Gardeners, as always, will be there to answer questions, provide free training, and test your soil pH. That's pretty cool. There's also stuff for the kids, food, and the Portland Iris Society show on Sunday, which is a crowd fave. This is all happening this weekend at Clackamas County Fairgrounds in Canby. The parking is free. Head over to springgardenfair.org for all the details. That's springgardenfair.org. Portland's premier pop culture event is returning to the Oregon Convention Center this September 5th through the 7th. As always, Rose City Comic Con is delivering a fun, family-friendly 3-day celebration of comics, gaming, sci-fi, cosplay, anime, fantasy, and every fandom in between. Also, this year you can meet the cast of The Goonies in celebration of the film's 40th anniversary. We're talking Corey Feldman, Martha Plimpton, and Sean Astin, to name a few. And who knows, maybe Maybe they'll have more info on the much talked about Goonies sequel that's in the works. For me, the cosplay competition is easily the highlight of the entire weekend. Just the time and effort that people put into their costumes is amazing. And if you're into shopping, there's the Artist Alley and Makersmart, where indie creators sell their wares. Rose City Comic Con isn't just comics, it's a celebration of all that is popular culture. There's quite literally something for everyone. Tickets are on sale now at rosecitycomiccon.com. That's rosecitycomiccon.com. Ready to cement your reputation as the best gift giver in your family or friend circle? Like this Mother's Day, you can give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. Aura frames are just a great way to share your life with the people you love most that you just don't get to see as often as you like. Recently, I gave my sister who lives down in Los Angeles an Aura frame, and now I get to see pictures of my niece and nephew, and they get to see all the places I'm traveling to and my life up here in Portland. And the photos, they look like real prints. The frames are beautiful, so everything looks professionally mounted, even though I took the picture with my phone. And also there's unlimited storage, so you can add as many photos and videos as you'd like. Aura right now has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, our listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's the one I have. I can attest it's really nice. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, what's going on with the banana today? Like, why are we talking about the banana today here in 2025?
Okay, so the reason I wrote about the banana in Willamette Week is because the building that the banana is painted on went for sale. The building has changed hands, and now there are a lot of question marks about what is going to happen to the banana. So the building that it's painted on is from the 60s and needs to be seismically retrofitted for earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a lot of question marks of, is that retrofit going to happen? Is the building going to stay standing, or is it going to be torn down and made into something else?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't actually get a ton of answers, nothing super concrete about what is going to happen to the building. So I think, Portland Street Art Alliance and definitely the children of the original artists who painted Art Fills the Void are concerned and have an eye on what is going to happen to this building and this banana as a part of Portland's history.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, we just don't know. I mean, seismic retrofit, good thing. Like, we want that to happen. But are there conversations about trying to preserve it? Like, I know that the Portland Street Art Alliance has done work in preserving the history of other murals in the city. Like, can you cut a chunk of wall out and put it somewhere else? Like, what can they do?
I mean, pretty much everything is on the table. So Portland Street Art Alliance is working with a lawyer to actually protect the rights of the banana. And they're trying to do that by, I know.
Just please don't let me interrupt. I want to hear more.
They are trying to register it with the U.S. Copyright Office so that it gets something called VARA protection. I'm forgetting what VARA stands for. But they are trying to basically federally protect the banana so that in case something happens to the building, it will be protected. And that could be anything from actually cutting out the banana and moving it somewhere else to the property owner agreeing to repaint the banana on whatever new build they make on the corner of 12th and Division.
Which makes sense because the banana has been repainted so many times that we no longer have the original banana, Rachel. This is like high conceptual art. Like, what is a banana, right?
It's true. It's true. We don't actually, none of the original bananas even, I mean, maybe if you dig way down, but what we see now is not what Guerrilla Wall Flare painted, for sure.
Yeah. That's so interesting, though. I looked it up. VERA is the Visual Artist Rights Act.
Thank you.
Which is a project that protects an artist's moral rights regarding his or her artwork. So he could get actual copyright protection. Bananas have rights too, I guess.
Bananas have rights too. I think that's what this whole conversation comes down to.
Yeah.
It's it just goes to like, what is the value of this street art and this history, and should it be preserved? And, what does it mean to people?
Yeah. Well, I'd love to talk a little bit more about some of the other art around the city, murals that you love, street art that you love. I know that you came up with a list of some of your favorites. I've got a couple of my favorites too that I want to yak about. But beyond the banana, what do you love?
Okay. All due respect to the banana, which I love and have written, I think at this point, 1,500 words about in the newspaper. So I definitely know the most about the banana and have written the most about the banana. But I would say my very favorite mural in Portland is just 3 blocks away from the banana. It's called Attitude of Gratitude.
Yeah.
You can see it from the train tracks. It's right at 9th and Division, and it is the many, many stories tall woman with her hair is actual living plants and her hands are in a prayer position.
Mm-hmm.
It is stunning. It's stunning during the day. It's stunning during night. You can see it from the Max train. It's right where Palomar used to be. Palomar, that amazing Cuban restaurant, just moved to Northwest 23rd. But
yeah,
it's on that building, and it's my very favorite.
That one is so beautiful. And I remember when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's really striking. And you pass by it a few times before you realize that her hair isn't painted, that is actually a living plant. I bet a lot of people have had that experience of seeing it and being like, wait, that's like, looks like it's 3D.
I read about it. It's actually more than 1,000 plants make up her hair.
Really?
Yes.
Do they have to water it? Do they tend to it?
It brings up so many logistical issues for me in terms of like care for plant on the side of a building. I'm sure that the people who designed it have a whole plan and a whole system. But as someone who cannot even keep my like office desk plant alive, I am shocked and amazed.
Well, I want to sort of shout out one that you already talked about a little bit, which is the Central East Side and those viaduct columns that are down there. And that's interesting. This is something we've talked about on the show before because it sort of came from the tradition of the Lovejoy columns, which is like another candidate for the first street art in Portland as well, which was painted back in like the 1940s and 50s by a Greek immigrant. On their lunch break, he would go and like paint these columns on Lovejoy Street in Northwest Portland. So these columns were there for many, many years. They've since been removed, but the Street Art Alliance decided to do a tribute project to these original columns sort of underneath the Hawthorne Bridge. And they've been expanding this over the last several years. So you get down into that part of the city, which like, you know, under the bridges and the Central East Side can feel a little like confined and dank and like urban and cold. And they've just been painting these beautiful murals all around with, like I said, these tributes to this original art, but also like the dragon boats are featured down there. And there's just like so many beautiful things that really have turned this part of town that felt a little bit like, I'm not sure about it, into something that's really beautiful. And like you said, something that people really love taking tours of.
Yeah, that's really cool. It reminds me, this isn't quite as ambitious, but iconic columns. You know, at Hippo Hardware on Burnside?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like those columns where they have like the hippos painted as sort of like they're in like togas or they're like...
Yeah, they're like Greek statues.
Like Greek gods, but hippos
uh-huh.
and like old plumbing equipment all coming together. I love those too.
Yeah, I will say I have never set foot in Hippo Hardware, but I know that store because of the times that I've gone by and like seen them standing there.
Yeah.
All right, hit me with another one. What's another one you love?
Speaking of murals that are going back to different Portland icons, I love one that is called Ode to Old Town. It's by Campo Graphic. I interviewed this artist for Willamette Week when this mural went up. And this is actually a very cool mural that has all of these different people and places associated with Old Town. And it's right at the chevron that's right there at like 3rd or 4th and Burnside. And it's like painted on the side of a chevron. It wraps around to the dumpsters. So talk about being in an area you don't typically like want to spend a lot of time, but they really beautified it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got Darcel on there. It's got Satyricon, which is a club that is closed. It's got Jimmy Max. It's got Mary's Club strippers on there. It's a very cool mural that gives some dignity and history to an area that is sometimes lacking in those things. Mm-hmm. So that one, that's a newer mural. That's from 2024. And I really love that one.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like so bright. It's like almost neon, the colors of it. And like, yeah, I love that as I'm looking at photos of it, of just like a way to sort of commemorate this neighborhood, not even commemorate it, to like say what this neighborhood is. It's like, this is who we are. These are the things that we've given to Portland. Yeah, speaking of murals that are kind of like a memorial to a neighborhood, One that I really love is the Leroy blocks. So this was another project that the Portland Street Art Alliance put together. So, like the stretch of Belmont, the corner where Stumptown is, and then the Belmont Market. On the side of the building, there is a giant mural of this guy, Leroy. And he was an unhoused person who lived on that block for years and years. He was like a neighborhood fixture, and everybody who lived there knew Leroy. And he had this favorite saying, all around the world, same song, which came from a Digital Underground song. He eventually got moved into housing, but he passed away a few years ago. And this mural was commemorated literally like on the street where he used to be on the stoop for decades. Some of his friends were involved in creating it. And it's just this mural to this guy who had been literally like the staple of the community for decades and decades. And then there's a second mural a block away that is sort of on the side of Tao of Tea that says house keys, not handcuffs. So it's sort of this combined mural project about the unhoused community that lived in this neighborhood.
It's so cool. And that mural is actually by Kyra Watkins, who is has done a lot of murals in town, and she's wildly talented and really nice. So shout out to Kyra as well.
Yeah. I never met Leroy, but every time I go by there, I see that portrait of him, and it makes me happy. I can just imagine what it feels like for the people who have lived in that neighborhood for a long time. Yeah.
For sure.
Well, Rachel, thanks for walking us through the history of the banana. I'm sure that's answered a lot of questions that people had about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of questions people probably didn't know they had about this thing that they've seen a million times. But thanks for your reporting on it, and look forward to seeing what happens next with it.
Thanks, John.
Well, that's all for us today here on CityCast Portland, but thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend or rate it or leave us a review? We'll be back tomorrow with much more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.